So in this video, I want to talk to you about how you can find the right properties for rental arbitrage in the UK. Okay, so this can be my exact system. Just a bit of context, I've sourced and operated Airbnb properties across the UK without owning a single one, and this is the exact framework I use to find the properties and make money before I even book the call. Okay, so what if picking the right city is more important than how you furnish it, how you list it, or even how you pitch to a landlord? Okay, so most beginners' default is to use their own city without analysing it, or just pick London because it seems obvious. Okay, you need to be aware about the market. Okay, so in London there's a 90-day rule. Okay, so you can rent out your entire place for 90 days a year, and that's the maximum. Okay, Airbnb also blocks after 90 days, and there's fines of over £20,000 if you get caught doing it. Now there are ways and there are people getting around it, okay? Mainly relisting the property or making a new Airbnb account after the 90 days. Okay, it does get done, and I don't know anyone that's been fined. I think it's crazy that the government can tell you buy a £30 million house in London and the government tell you what you can and can't do with it. It's crazy. Moving along. And another issue is getting the wrong demand profile. If you don't know the area, if you haven't done your background research, you could just be setting yourself up for failure before you even began. So just got to bear that in mind. So before you pick a market, pick one you can actually operate, okay? So if you're an operator, the location is a business decision. You know, if you're going to manage it yourself, obviously proximity matters. I live in the north of England, as you can probably tell by my voice. Yes, you can operate UK-wide if you get to a certain scale like I have, but if I was beginning, I would not pick a property in Bournemouth, okay? I think that's kind of logical. So what you want to do really is pick like an area that you know does well, which is within like an hour drive really of you. You know, ideally we're going to automate the whole system, so you're not going to be needing to go there, and I'm going to speak to you about that in other videos. But when you're first getting off, obviously staging the property and stuff, you know, like an emergency guest issue, maintenance calls, you know, the no key in the key box, cleaner hasn't got the key, what's going on, you might have to go there if you haven't got the systems in place. So obviously proximity to the location you're going to operate is quite important when deciding your location. You know, start close and then scale is kind of what I say. So yeah, 30 to 60 minutes where you live. You know, remote operation is possible, but it has a cost. You can imagine like you can just phone someone up and get them to sort the issue out. But obviously, you know, when you're first beginning, you want to be saving that money to scale the business. You don't want to be spending it on maintenance calls and tradespeople that try and scam you. So the city criteria, what to look for before to commit to any market: dual demand, tourism and business, okay? So a lot of my properties are in Manchester city centre. Manchester has 2 Premier League football clubs. It has music events, you know, almost on a weekly basis, music festivals. It's got major transport stations that link even like Scotland and more north of England, you know, going to down south, and people stop over. Obviously it has a lot of history and heritage, and there's a lot of businesses based there, okay? People are calling it London the North for a reason. So, you know, having that gives you year-round occupancy, okay? Big universities, I think Manchester University is the biggest university in Europe, so people are coming to visit their kids and stuff. You know, if you put yourself in one of these markets and you think, why are people going to be coming to this area? You need to know what the demand is. Getting dual demand and having multiple reasons why people coming in the area is going to make the property perform better. So that's the sort of criteria. It doesn't have to be Manchester, doesn't have to be London, doesn't have to be Birmingham. Cities like York, Cambridge, Oxford, you know, Bristol, you know, even like near airports and stuff like that. You just need to think people are coming and going. There's businesses based there, like the airlines, and people are traveling. People's flights get cancelled, they need somewhere to stay. So dual demand. Obviously make sure that the local areas allow it. So no 90-day rule like we talked about before, like in Greater London, always around it. Supply and demand balance. So just having high nightly rates with thin availability on busy weekends, demand in the market struggling to meet, that's your opportunity, okay? So if you're in a like kind of a more of a niche place and you look on Airbnb and you see oh, there's a lot of properties not available this weekend. Oh, if I put something into that market, there's clearly demand because a lot of them getting booked out and you can see the nightly rates, etc. So the fundamental maths work. Obviously, we're going to go over all the numbers and stuff, but you want to do your research. So you've shortlisted a city in your area and it's, you know, ticking them boxes. Okay, so the proximity to the demands once you're in that city. So transport hubs, universities, hospitals, business parks, arenas, football stadiums, you know, corporate head offices, you know, being close to these. HS2, that's, you know, a giant line right through the country at the moment, and billions are getting spent every year on it. Okay, and these tradespeople need somewhere to stay, and that's your opportunity. Okay, proximity to the demand generators. Walkability is another big one. You don't want your house on a bloody motorway, you know, where they can't walk, they have to drive everywhere. If you're in the centre of Manchester, you've suddenly got all these amenities and you're going to, you know, almost go there and live the experience. I stayed in Brickell for a month in Miami and it was great because I could just walk everywhere. I had everything on my doorstep. So obviously that consolidates the higher nightly rates because people will pay more for it. Okay, so finding the gaps, not the clusters. Identify where successful listings cluster on the performance map and then look immediately adjacent, okay? So close enough to share that demand, fewer listings, less competition, that gap is where the best deals are, okay? So how do you find some of this information that you need to help you really settle in on that location in the area you've decided upon? There's a service called AirDNA. Here you can put in your city neighborhood address and you can see all the listings in the area. You'll be able to see their nightly rates and their occupancy level, okay? So this really helps you narrow down on that location that you then want to like try and secure a unit. Sometimes the units are like so limited and getting landlords to say yes, you will do this the reverse way and you'll find the unit and then you'll validate whether it's going to be good or not. So you're just working backwards. Not every flat in the right area is the right flat, okay? So certain amenities obviously are going to be very important to guess and it's going to really help you have a perfect listing, okay? So fast Wi-Fi capability, people want fast Wi-Fi, people are working away from home, stuff like that, you know, that's really important to them. You know, separate bedrooms. I do tell clients if they find a bedroom that's really big, put 2 double beds in it because you're suddenly catering to more people, okay? You've got a property with 2 big bedrooms, that's 2 double beds, okay? So you cater to more people. So when you go and do your viewings, and I'll probably do a whole video on this for you guys, but you know, look for the amenities and see the benefits, okay? So we're talking balconies, we're talking does it have free parking, top floor, nice views, okay? Building amenities, gym, concierge, like, you know, people ask if it's secure, things like that, got cameras outside, modern kitchen, because obviously if you're renting a property or running it for a client, you can't pay for a new kitchen. So bearing in mind them things are very important. You know, inside in-unit laundry, has a washing machine. So we'll do a whole video on this, but you know, you want the amenities to be right for Airbnb. And if you're not sure, go on AirDNA, look at the property in that area that's doing the best and see what amenities it's got. So you found an area that works for you and you narrow down on a precise location that you want to do. How do you then find the properties? So obviously you can go on sites like Rightmove, Zoopla, OpenRent. We've spoke about this in the other videos. Reach out to them landlords, okay? Letting agents, direct landlord outreach on land registry data, LinkedIn, okay? So this gets into the whole thing about getting clients over the line and convincing landlords. Obviously you could also use a deal source and be like, this is the area that works for me, and pay them and they'll get you a deal. But yeah, you just got to have good ground game. And what I mean by that is you just got to be picking up the phone and dialing, okay? You're going to get no's, but more no's you get, you're closer to a yes, okay? So we've obviously spoke about this in other videos, so I'm not going to go massively in detail, but you've got the sourcing channels are what's going to provide you with the property. So before you even approach the landlord now to try and get them over the line, we need to make sure that the deal stacks, okay? Because there's no point you wasting time having conversations with them and follow-ups and whatever, presenting them with a contract if the numbers don't stack. Okay, so obviously you need to have your projected Airbnb gross revenue based off the data you've got somewhere like AirDNA, or you're in my course and I've done it for you. The monthly rent, you've got to take that off. The utilities, you've got to take that off. Obviously cleaning, not so much, because you're going to be collecting cleaning fees from the guests and you're going to be giving that to the cleaners, so it's not really as much to worry about. Obviously, if you're going to furnish the property and your insurance, okay, so then the net monthly profit, you need to just make sure, and if you're weighing up multiple properties, obviously, you do this research and you know which one to go for. This is obviously for guaranteed rent and rent to rent. If you're doing the management fee, you don't have to worry about half this, okay? You're just running it for them and charging them commission. So finding the right property, finding the right area and deciding where you're going to start, obviously you've got to do your research first, know the city, know the area, know your numbers, and obviously know you, because it's got to be in proximity to you when starting off. I would highly recommend. Obviously use a deal analyzer to make sure the deal is valid and you've got the numbers and it all checks out, okay? So I hope you've learned a lot in this video. Leave a comment about what you want more videos about, and I can go into a lot more detail about certain subjects. Subscribe, hit me a DM on Instagram, link in the bio for the free course, which covers a lot more stuff in detail.